also.
Sure, please talk to SKK. Shall we wait a couple of minutes for SKK to join?
Yeah.
Yep. We will hit our maximum limit within a few minutes.
Starting with Big Bang and first session of this academic year, online session.
Yes.
The YouTube will start automatically?
We will start the streaming, sir. I think Kishore will do it.
Yeah, you'll be watching. Okay, numbers.
Everything is set right.
Who else are we expecting from PALS?
SKK. I am just waiting for SKK. I'm just worried the number is going up.
That's fine. Yeah, I think either SKK joins or we cross 999. We start.
Okay.
Okay. Of that, unless somebody gets bored with my talk about PALS, there's no entry into this session via this Zoom meeting.
Okay, 1000 crossed.
Yes. 1K, 1024. 1K means 1024, right?
Yeah, 102. 1K.
Little worried. SKK will get a chance. It's 1000 now. I think
you can start.
Yeah, so probably we'll start the initial PMO introduction in the beginning and we'll proceed by the time I think SKK will join. Kishore, can you start the streaming and start the recording so that I will proceed? Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you joining us today. This is Lavna from the PALS Program Management Office, and I have Mr. Kishore with me from the PMO office to co-host this program. And I'm very much delighted to see so many of you joining us as we kick off the very first online session of this edition. It is especially encouraging to note that several institutions are participating for the first time, and we extend a warm welcome to all of you. We are pleased to share that today's session is being streamed live on YouTube, enabling a wider audience to part of this learning experience. So before we dive into today's faculty student development program, I would like to take a few minutes to walk you through some important rules and guidelines. These are designed to make sure every session runs smoothly and that all of you get the most out of this program. So I request your full attention for the next couple of probably hours. So please rename your Zoom display name in the format name - your college short name. This will help us to identify you, and all participants will remain muted by default throughout the session for the smooth delivery of the program. And attendance is something we take very seriously. So please note, attendance must be marked using the attendance link, which will be shared with you in the chat box. You should please post the attendance link. And we will have an interactive Slido quiz during the session. So to participate, you have to register your details at the beginning of the session in the link provider. So please complete this promptly. Attendance and participation will be closely monitored throughout the program. And if you have any question for a speaker, you can email us at askpalspmo@gmail.com. This inbox will be actively monitored throughout the session. When you write in, please mention your name and college short name along with your question so that we can respond quickly. And if you would like to interact or ask something during the Q&A segment, use the raise hand option and we will unmute you. So the chat box will be enabled only when required. And the feedback link will be posted at the end of the session. So please make sure to submit it promptly. So this covers all our guidelines for today. And we are really excited to have you all with us for this first session. And we look forward to an engaging and productive program ahead. And now it's my privilege to invite our PALS chairman, Mr. C.N. Chandrasekharan, to share an overview of PALS. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, can you let me share, please? Allow me
Yes,
to
sir.
share.
Yes. Go ahead.
So you all able to see my screen?
Perfect. Perfect, sir. Go ahead.
Very good. Okay. Thank you, Lavana. Good afternoon. Esteemed speaker Sujata Gopal, she has not joined, but she is actually there with us. Her soul and mind is there, only her voice is not there. Okay. So we have with us. I think I need to adjust this. 1 second. There are some screens popping up. We warm welcome to all those who have joined from our partner institutes, those who renewed this year and those who have joined newly this year, and our colleagues from PALS and student friends. A warm welcome to you for this first online session for this year. And we know that there are a lot of people who are new, and it's my pleasure to briefly present to you about PALS. PALS is a voluntary initiative that blossomed from the collective spirit of passionate IIT alumni. Our core belief is simple yet profound: to augment and enhance engineering education. So what you see in the screen is a plan for democratizing excellence, starting with improving student employability and creating an entrepreneurial opportunities and ecosystem for the same, provide industry connect and collaboration, connecting IIT ecosystem capabilities, so that faculty stay updated with the latest in technology, and thus give a roadmap to institutions to improve NIRF ranking. NIRF ranking is only a metric, but it is actually putting the institution on a path to excellence. That's what PALS is what PALS does. This is not just an idea. It's an execution-driven initiative led by IIT alumni, translating vision into measurable impact. So that's in brief about PALS. Let me tell you a little more detail. Okay. So we started long back, about in 2012, with a simple belief that the industry integration with academic institutions will strengthen their faculty, institution, and thus the students. Okay, I think there is some timing, so the slide may go forward. So we started in Chennai. We stepped out of Chennai to rest of Tamil Nadu. Then we went to Andhra, Telangana, Nepal, and then Karnataka and Kerala. So as of last year, we had 67 partner institutes, having started with 6 in 2012. And so you can see the map of South India with all the colleges. Having started in Tamil Nadu long back, we got quite many colleges. We got good number in Kerala and Karnataka and Andhra and Telangana. So ours is not Chennai-centric initiative. It's all over. As you can see in the next slides, we started with just simple lecture series. A simple sapling was planted via lectures. The industry experts going to various colleges, talking about emerging trends. And then as we went along, we added more and more programs: faculty development program, student competition, hackathon, Innova, and then bring the students to IIT campus for residential student workshop, then mentor the students for industry project, and then provide career guidance. As I said, there's a career guidance, and then add a management development program for the institutions to go up on the NIRF ranking. And then actually it's become a 360-degree intervention. It is not a set of program, it's more an ecosystem, providing institutions, faculty, and students to learn from the collective wisdom of all the IIT alumni who have spent so many years in the industry. So very briefly, on the right side, you see a big wheel. These are all the PALS program. Right now what you are doing is actually attending a faculty student development plan that is being posted by PALS, the first ever program for this year, first online program. where we are going to bring industry for the next 3 sessions, today, tomorrow, and one more day, where the industry will come and talk about how whatever is being learned by students, how opportunities exist in the industry to use them. So we have expert from TCS coming and talking to us on today about emerging trends and technology. And all these programs, there are about 25 programs that we are offering to students, faculty, and management. We, for better management and oversight, we have organized them into institute, industry, innovation, and entrepreneurship. So these are the programs you will hear from time to time. You will get communication from PALS PMO with the timing and guidelines and things like that to attend from time to time. And you see, this is a picture of all the events, that offline events that we conducted throughout here. You can see the PALS wheels at the center, and these are all the various programs we conducted across different locations in South India. And these are the partners that we have. We have institute partners. You can see all the IITs, IIT Madras, IIT Hyderabad, IIT Tirupati, IIT Palakkad. And we have got innovation partners, IIT Madras Research Park, ITEL, Anna Incubation Center. We have education partners, Nandi and CARE Center. And we have got a lot of industry bodies who are collaborating with us to help us reach the industry. So you can see a good set of partners who are going to be helping us to conduct several programs which are going to be useful for the faculty, students, and management. So this is briefly about PALS, and we look forward to actually a pleasant journey through this year starting today, interacting with you, a few online programs. See, there are a program which will be physical, coming closer to your colleges, and some conducted in IIT Madras, conducted at various locations. So we look forward to interacting with you, right through the year. And there are several opportunities that you can learn, you can try, you can develop your problem-solving skills, improve your team management, so on and so forth. So this is in a nutshell, PALS is all about. I'll stop sharing, Lavana. Hope I have not taken too much time. I just try to make it very, very brief.
Yes, CNC sir, very brief, and thank you, sir. With that wonderful introduction, probably I would like to invite our PALS champion, Mr. Pati Lakshmi Narayanan, to go through various industry offerings and introduce our speaker for today. Over to you, Pati, sir.
Thanks, Lavana. Respected chairmen of PALS CNC and PALS champions and then PMO team, distinguished speakers, and esteemed faculty members and students who joined with us. Good afternoon to everyone. It is my privilege to welcome you all to a 3-day technology trend series on behalf of the organization, that is PALS. I thank our distinguished industry leaders for taking time to share their knowledge and experience with all of us. So just to give an intro, Industry Tower is one of the towers, as Mr. CNC told. In that scene, one is headed by Mr. S. Krishna Kumar and then SKK. Unfortunately, he could not join today. So that one, we are conducting many programs, main from core engineering as well as to IT and AI and cybersecurity, etc. We are conducting, for example, projects we are giving, already some 3-4 projects we are giving, and then probably people from some colleges know that they're already working on the projects, and then it is internship. Already some 20-25 internship we have started initiating this year, and then we are having some quantum computing projects, and then we are going to give faculty internship very soon, and then announcement will come. So basically, we are trying to bring industry nearer to the academy. More than that, how academic can ahead of industry in certain areas, so that industry can look for solutions for the problems from academy. That is what the aim of this tower. And then in this part of this, today we are going to have something about technology trends. It is my privilege to welcome you all for the 3-day technology trend series. And then this technology trends, why we are doing. So what is the need for conducting this program? So we are living in one of the most exciting periods in engineering history. And then if you see for the last 5-10 years, the technology explosions are very, very high. And then whatever you are The technologies are supposed to be there. When mainframe came, it was there for 10 years, and then C++, then Java, now Python, and many other things. The technology changes are happening every month today. And then what are all the things are having a bigger focus to the industry, because many changes are happening there, needs are there, or artificial intelligence, semiconductor innovation, and telecommunication. Why telecommunication is? Telecommunication is the one which is the backbone for any of the AI, ML activities, what is happening. And then, of course, cybersecurity and robotics are there. So we thought we will cover these three areas. AI, ML, what is the impact to the industry, and then people who are students today, when they are coming out as an engineers, what is there for them to look at it. The same manner in telecommunication, same manner in VLSI design and cyber chips design, etc. Because there is a big focus in industry as well as in from government of India for chips manufacturing within India, and then a lot of opportunities are there today to grab. So the objective is simple: help students understand where technology is leading, bridge the gap between classroom learning and industry expectation, inspire students to continuously learn and adopt, help faculty appreciate emerging industry trends that can enrich the teaching and research. That is the idea behind this 3-day session. And then, as someone told, the illiterate of 21st century is not the person who is not able to read or write. It is not the case, because everybody knows how to read and write. But it is more than that. How the illiterate is one who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. When the technology explosion is there, it is important for us to learn and then probably unlearn, then relearn. All the things are required. So if you have the knack of learning new technologies, the survival and leading this industry is not an issue. So today companies are looking beyond the marks and degree. They seek engineers who can solve problems, learn continuously, work with AI, communicate effectively, collaborate across disciplines, and think creatively. So knowledge is important. Knowledge will come only when you are studying, when you are learning. Learning how to learn is even more important. So whether you are learning only theory, whether you are doing projects, whether you know hands-on what to do, and then what are the nuances of this one, if you are able to crack them, you are the most wanted engineer, because the basic thing of engineer DNA is solving the problem. So to solve the problem, you need tools. Whatever we are learning are the tools for you to solve the industry problem or the social problem, whatever is there in front of you to solve. So or the opportunity you get to solve. That is the reason behind learning. And then we are having a 3-day session. So I just want to introduce 3 days, what are all the things we are going to do. Today, it will be AI and future of IT opportunities for the new engineers. The speaker is Sujata Gopal, so who is my colleague in TCS, and then she is the CTO of CME business unit of TCS. Today, AI is changing software development, testing, customer service, healthcare, banking, and every industry it touches. It is industry agnostic. It is not only touching IT industry. The question is no longer will AI replace engineers. The better question is how can engineers use AI to become more valuable? So that is the question everywhere it is asked. So today's session will explore the future. What is there for you when you are coming out as engineers? People who are joining first year, fourth year afterwards. So 2026 to 2000, maybe 2030. What is there for you with whatever you are studying in the 4 years? And then what are the opportunities you are seeing will be dealt by Sujata. Tomorrow, we are having the rise of autonomous telecom. So what is autonomous telecom? I don't want to break the suspense. Probably Janapriya, who from Gallant, who is a vice president in Gallant, she will be able to, she will be talking about that. What is autonomous telecommunication? What is the impact of telecommunication? Because telecommunication is the one industry which is undergoing maximum number of breakthroughs: 3G, 4G, 5G, then IoT, edge computing. AI-driven network. All the things are coming to compute, and then every telecommunication industry is hugely investing on how to stay ahead of in the technology war, what is happening. So tomorrow you will hear from Jina what is the net from the communication industry perspective for an IT engineer. That will be covered there. Day 3 will be current trends in VLSI design and accelerators. The speaker is Dr. Saravanan from Bell Group. Behind every AI operation lies a powerful hardware. Everybody knows semiconductor, processors, GPUs, and all other things require the chip. And then so far, India is dependent on some few countries for any of the chips. So now we are seeing how we will be able to be a self-sufficient for the chip manufacturing also. Big investment, big focus is there from India, from government of India. Tata Group also invested. So what is in it for the engineer if you want to learn semiconductor and VLSI design? So that is what Dr. Saravanan is going to cover tomorrow. So my few advice, I won't say advices, some points for you is don't attend this session merely to earn a certificate. That is not the idea. Attend them to gain perspective. Probably when you are getting some idea, you should be able to go yourself miles and then learn about whatever the topics or whatever the points the speakers are going to cover. Ask questions, interact with the speakers, network with the industry expert. These people are available if any questions you want or anything you want further to discuss. They should be available offline for you. So that is what it is. Your degree gets your first interview. Your curiosity builds your career. So yeah, I sincerely thank all for the agreement of the speakers and then for that particular 3-day program what we are going to do. And then I have seen big number of registration, more than 8,000 people have registered for this 3-day session. So it is really a exciting one for us with this one. And then we should be able to, I want everybody to make utilized of this series. We'll be having multiple series in future also. So please look out for this. Check with your student leader, your FC coordinator or the faculty coordinator. You should be able to understand what are all the programs are going to come. So education gives us the foundation, industry gives us direction. When academia and industry comes together, innovation happens. I hope these 3 days will inspire every student to dream bigger, learn continuously, and prepare for the opportunities for tomorrow. So with that, I will introduce Sujata. Sujata is having 25 years plus experience. She has worked mainly in telecommunication, but not only that, she has worked in BFSI, retail, and many other vertical. So he is a AI champion. He is a corporate COO, CXO, advisory person, and then she is began many of the artificial intelligence initiatives which are happening in telecommunication. My good friend, and then I am giving that mic over to Sujata to continue. Over to Lavana, so that Lavana can hand over to Sujata. Thanks,
Yeah.
Lavana.
Thank you, Pati sir, for excellent detailed sharing with us, and very happy to have Sujata ma'am. Ma'am, over to you, ma'am, to take the session further.
Thank you, Lavana, and thank you, Pati, for your generous words. First of all, thanks to the PALS leadership team, as well as thanks to Pati, who has been a very close friend as well as colleague for me for many years. And thanks for this opportunity to interact and with the students. It's a very welcome change for me, and I always love talking to the students. Because they are the budding future of tomorrow, and we are living in a spectrum of where the technology evolution is happening at the most rapidest pace than ever. And it's absolutely critical that the young generation, the students who are on this meeting, are well equipped to harness the power of that technology in their hands, so that they can be equipped to be that intelligent workforce of tomorrow, who will shape industries, who will shape transformation, both for multiple different industries, as well as specifically for India as a country, right? It's going to be our future generation here. So very happy to be here and talk to the students on this topic. I will bring up the slide content. Lavana, you can let me know once it's visible.
Sure.
Yeah. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am. Perfectly fine.
Okay, good. Yeah. So good. So what I intend to do for the next hour plus is basically I want to give you a glimpse into what is happening out in the industry. Specifically, we are here talking about today the topic about uh, what is the future of engineering, right? What is the future of AI and the future of engineering, specifically in the IT context, in the information technology career context. How is the disruption happening today? What is the future of engineering as such, software engineering as such? What are the kind of roles that we are evolving, seeing? Who's playing what in this industry role today, and where exactly is the opportunity for you all, right? So that's what I want to focus on in today's conversation. And while I'm sure none of you are new to AI, AI is not some distant future that we are all preparing for. It is already the present that we are living in. And how do we turn the usage of AI from what is a habit today? You may be using chat GPTs or perplexities for your personal needs and so on and so forth. How do we turn that from a habit into a career edge for all of you, right? Because the gap is not between in terms of what is somebody knowing the technology, but the gap is between the students who just use these tools and the students who are understanding them and keeping them and making them really, making the value real for themselves. That's going to be the difference between the career streams that's going to come up, right? So what we're going to do here is we will go a little underneath to understand what is the hype, what is behind the hype of AI, what is underlying, beneath the AI. AI is, when we talk about, we hear about all these big global names. You hear about Anthropic, OpenAI, Copilot, Gemini, and so on and so forth. But is AI only those, or what is behind the scenes of AI? What actually constitutes AI? Yeah. And we'll also talk about who's building what, where exactly is the money on the table, how the job of the software engineering is changing as of today, where is the shift happening, the roles that are coming to vogue today, and the traditional roles which are actually fading away. And I also want to take you through what is your playbook as students. What is your playbook, the concrete move that you can make even much before you graduate? What is the opportunity in your hands to actually make that difference, right? So that's what the plan is today for the next 1 hour that I want to take you through. And I will also, in between, request for some interaction. You can have a probably have a show of hands if you agree with certain questions that I raise or something like that. And of course, I'm happy to take any questions towards the end of the session or in between, as the case may be. Okay. So first of all, I will start with, I'm sure many of you have heard about GitHub. GitHub is actually the largest home for software today, right? So most of the software that is written, produced, so on and so forth in the world, GitHub is actually the repository of today, right? In terms of the homing the software or where the software is actually stored, right? And different enterprises have their own GitHub versions. They have their own repository, which is security controlled and so on and so forth, right? Now, this is a real statistics on the ground, right? Is that 51% of the code, 51% of the software which is written, which is present in GitHub, is now written with AI assistance. Now, what does that mean, right? If you think about back 5 years ago, a decade ago, or so on and so forth, coding was all about what you write personally. You personally type a code, right? But now we're talking about where the machine writes a significant part of it. Okay, so the skill has significantly moved. It's no longer about typing code, no longer about writing code, but it's all about knowing what to build and how to check what you have built through AI is correct or not. Okay, so that's a very very big shift in terms of what has happened today. So the fact that the world's largest repository of software is now 51 percentage written with AI assistance means It shows how the shift of, even in fact, one third of developers across the world are shifting towards AI assisted code development, which means that there is a lot of trust factor towards what AI's output is today. And this doesn't mean that human judgment is not required. Human judgment is actually becoming more and more important today, because it is more important to verify the veracity of what AI is producing, right? So this is a very important statistic, specifically as future programmers, future engineers, software engineers to remember, right, in this context. And this is a growing percentile today, and this is a clear recall of the stats of where exactly AI driven software engineering is headed. Lavan, I'm checking my slides are moving. Hopefully that's visible,
Yes,
right?
yes, ma'am. Perfectly.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So let's take a step back to understand what is AI, right? Yeah. So as I mentioned before, of course, all these the big company names, you're seeing those movers in the market. You're hearing, about the Googles, the Microsoft, the Nvidias, the Anthropics, and so on and so forth, and the names of the models which is crowded in the market. But is that what all AI is about? No. Okay. So, and AI, particularly artificial intelligence, is absolutely not new. Okay, artificial intelligence has existed for a couple of more and even more decades actually. But what actually happened is the whole consumerization of AI. Thanks to Chat GPT, actually powering the whole consumerization of AI, that it has come multiple times into vogue, and there have been significant investments and what has come to the table today in terms of via transformer architectures into giving the power of AI in the hands of everybody in common man, right? That is what actually made AI more and more prevalent and more fungible today. But let's take a step back to see what constitutes AI. If you look at it, it is not just about having a brain in the box. If you look at AI, but it is actually a pattern prediction engine, right? Because all the AI models basically generate AI, was what we're talking about here in software engineering context, it has been trained on an astonishing amount of text and code, right? Which means that it has got a good ability to take guesses and predict what should come next. Okay? Think of it something which is like an autocomplete on your phone. Yeah, you type on your phone, but it auto completes for you, etc. Right? But AI is trained on a huge slice of the internet, huge slice of actual data cutting across multiple
Your
different
voice is, Sujata ma'am, your
global
voice is breaking, ma'am. Madam?
uh, sorry, yeah.
Ma'am, your voice is breaking.
Is it better now?
Yeah. Go ahead, ma'am. Somehow it's better now. But anyway, it's break a few seconds.
Okay, I can turn off video if it's there's a lag for some time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully it's better now.
Yes, ma'am. Continue.
Yeah, thank you. So what I was saying is that the models themselves are trained on huge slice of the internet, huge volumes of information, whether it is code, whether it's textual information, references, so on and so forth, so that the pattern prediction capability of the model is extremely high, right? Secondly, the data, right? The data that the models are learning from, right? It learns billions of examples today, right? And there are billions of parameters that capture all these patterns that the model is able to predict, right? And that forms the crux of this. And specifically, when you take an AI model, you take a Gemini model, or you take a Claude model of Anthropic, which is trained on zillions and billions of parameters of data. But when you apply it into an enterprise context, there is also the element of contextualization that you need to bring in. I'll come to that a little later. Okay. But first and foremost, you understand there's a model, then there is, of course, the data that the model is trained on. The next facet is the prompt. Prompt is what you and I, when we are using the model, what do we describe in plain language, right? You ask the model to generate an image of so and so, right? You ask the model to modify your image, I want to change my clothing in XYZ, etc. You probably use ChatGPT for doing those kind of things. So the prompt is what you actually describe in plain language, right? And the most important thing is your judgment, right? In terms of you are the judge, the human is the judge here. You check it, you correct it, and you decide whether what the model proposes, is it correct or not. So the model proposes and the engineer disposes, right? Now that is the construct of what puts together what is the entire gamut of AI today is about, right? And when it comes to the engineering context, we're talking about the code that you're giving a prompt to the AI to generate a code or test a code, so on and so forth, based on a specific business requirement. And the model is providing you the output, and it's your judgment that comes in here in terms of verifying, testing whether what the model has proposed or the model has developed is actually correct or not. Okay. Now, this is important to understand in terms of the whole gamut, and very important, right? Because there is a lot of phallus, kind of, arguments today all over the market in terms of, is AI going to displace a lot of jobs? Is AI going to take over the engineering jobs, etc.? No. Okay. There is a new gamut of opportunities that AI is coming through it. And the job of the engineer, the job of the software engineer also is getting shifted very significantly with the power of AI. I'll come to that up in a bit. So this is all about what is AI was about, right? Now, a little bit of reflection back into the past, right? And as I mentioned, of course, this technology per se is not new. Only the new aspects with respect to the transformer architectures, generative AI, and the consumerization of that, and the power of multi-billion model parameters driven AI models and stuff like that is actually brought a lot of applications into the work today. But if you look back, in the years 2012 to 2020, there was a lot of quite build up happening. There were a lot of AI which was used at recognizing images, speech translation, so on and so forth. It was always there.
Data ma'am?
Actually talk to enable capable AI model, right? And that
We lost you for a second, ma'am. We lost you actually.
okay now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 2022 to 2023, that's the ChatGPT moment where suddenly the consumerization of AI happened, and anyone could talk to a capable model, right? And ChatGPT hit 100 million users in about 2 months' time, right? Of rapidity in which the consumerization of the AI happened, that was the clear 2026, and what is coming beyond that. Now we are moved behind using AI as an assistive tool into what we call as an agent era. And this is very important to understand, right? It is not about just using AI, just giving prompts to AI, using AI for specific tasks, etc. But you are actually handing decisions to AI agents in lot more controlled fashion, where certain AI agents can be programmed to do complete tasks by itself. Of course, there is a human that is governing that, a human that is programming that, a human that is giving the instructions. But you have capability today in some of the models and the agents which can complete multiple steps task on its own. And that is moving towards more what we call as more of autonomous era, right? So we are really moved away from the chatbot era into actually autonomous agents era. And this is where the shift is happening in a very, very rapid pace today. This is very important to understand in terms of the shift towards agent era. And as we speak today, there is a new model in the market every day. There is a new technology paradigm specifically in integrating AI every day. So the shift is happening at a very, very fast pace, today, and keeping continuous track of it, keep continuous learning especially as students and even people who are in the workforce today, is absolutely a critical facet of working in this era, right? Now, who's building the future, right? If you break down all of these things, to understand, different layers, which tells you what exactly is the layer in which company sits in, what kind of capability that they handle. First is, of course, the model makers. They are the companies who actually produce those models. There are a lot of foundation models, which all of these companies produce. So you can be classified them into two type of categories. They are, one is called the frontier models. Frontier models are those companies who are creating paid usage. They are kind of really state of the art AI models, etc., which is available for a subscription, which is of course in AI parlance is called as tokens. In terms of buying, based on the tokens it consumes, you can actually buy into those models on different platforms and so on. So the companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, Google DeepMind, Meta, Nvidia's model factory, so on and so forth, they are predominantly the players in that space in terms of the actual model makers. A lot of research goes into it. Enormous amount of compute is required to produce these models, and so on and so forth, right? So that is the first class of companies in terms of who's sitting behind the AI scenario. The second part of it, we talk about the tool builders. Now there are a lot of tools. Now when it comes to programming, so specifically software programming, it's not just only having the model, because all of you who have done programming at some point of time in your various semesters that you have learned that subject, you would realize you use some kind of IDEs, specifically program. You may use Visual Studio, you may use Java, Eclipse for Java, you may use some sort of a tool to actually do the programming, right? Now there are a lot of tools today from AI first programming construct, which is actually provided by these tool builders. Name an example: GitHub Copilot, which was of course various provided today largely by Microsoft, is actually a tool in the hands of the software engineers, who helps it to orchestrate this through an entire value chain of the software engineering life cycle. Perplexity, for instance, comes with a harness, comes with a tool which made available for multiple different programming constructs. Cursor is another one. Devin is another one. There are many such tool builder ecosystem which is there available for engineers today. The last comes the adopters, which is extremely very important to understand. So every industry, whether it is a bank, whether it is a life sciences, a healthcare customer, whether it's a telecom, whether it's a retailer, whether it is of course the IT services companies like TCS and so on, we are in the business of putting AI into the business, into transforming the business. Okay, while the model makers, the tool builders, etc., are providing you the actual models and the tools, where is exactly the adoption happen? The adoption is actually happening in the third layer, right? In terms of actually making AI real. Now you have AI tools, you have models, so on. So how do you make good use of that in context of the particular industry, in the context of the particular program that you're delivering, in the context of the particular transformation that you're delivering to the industry, and so on and so forth. So this is where the biggest chunk of work is happening in terms of how do you embed AI into your business. And this sector is carrying the largest number of jobs here, and where it's a combination of both knowledge of AI, knowledge of technologies, as well as the adoption of the domain knowledge also, because understanding the domain is absolutely critical in context of applying AI. Because you need to know, say for instance, you are working on building a customer facing, consumer facing app today, for instance. Okay, you need to understand what is the features that you're kind of going to offer to the customer today. Now how is the customer going to use the particular tool? How will the journey of the customer be through using the tool? All the subtle aspects need to be understood, needs to be designed. And then comes the aspect of how do I use AI basically to fast track the whole aspect of building the particular app. So it's absolutely important that the domain understanding is very clear, so that you really know how exactly AI is getting adapted in that context. There are a lot of business scenarios we do not require the power of AI. There are constructs wherein there are critical kind of areas where there is currently no need for a deep application of AI, which where traditional heavy rule driven applications etc still are highly functional, and that is required because the human touch is absolutely very very high degree in that context. But barring that, most of the cases there are clearly is an adoption of AI, whether AI is playing an assistive role, whether it's AI is playing an augmentative role, or the AI is actually moving into the higher order in terms of more autonomous functions. So irrespective of that, there is a big adoption that is happening. Now this is clearly the three segment in terms of opportunities that is there for future engineers, right? And there are different nuances of the type of engineering skills that the different types of these layers of companies sitting in these layers are looking for. But the third layer is where the adoption of industry knowledge coupled with knowledge of the technologies together will be the winning facet in terms of what are the type of job demands, and what are the types of opportunities that is there for engineers of the future. Now, moving on, the fact that I did give examples of some of the the models out there and the model companies and so on and so forth. There was a lot of buzz in terms of, is it really a bubble? Is it certain things? Is the momentum real, etc. I can tell you from what my day job involves in terms of working with customers, helping them adopt AI, helping them move from the maturity radar of early augmentation of AI to more of assistive nature of AI. How do we help them to scale AI, beyond proof of concepts and pilots into actually scaling them into production implementations and so on. So the momentum is very, very real, and there is a lot of investments that is happening behind the scenes. So some statistics are here for you, and a lot of these things are real numbers in terms of Cursor, one of the AI code editor, which was very, very prominently used in multiple different industry ecosystems. They had a rapid growth in terms of hitting $2 billion revenue in annuity basis, and one of the fastest growing software companies, a tool based software companies ever recorded. Anthropic is making a lot of buzz in the industry today. And of course, Anthropic is coming very heavily in the Indian ecosystem also. TCS, for instance, we are partnered with Anthropic, bringing Anthropic to many of our customers, also in the Indian context, where the Claude code. So there are multiple models within Anthropic. They have Sonnet for high degree of programming. They have Claude, which is a high-end reasoning model that had a very very high run rate in terms of moving up to a 2.5 billion run rate in about 9 months time. And GitHub Copilot, which has absolutely the maximum number of users, we're talking about the tune of 20 million plus users and a growing rate. So this is a growing statistics. And India as a country itself is projected to need over 1 million AI roles by the end of 2026. That's the projection that we have. And unfortunately, the talent pool is actually growing only roughly at half the speed, right? So essentially, which means that the demand is running at twice the supply, right? And if you're building the real AI skills, the market is definitely tilted in your favor actually, right? So that is what is actually the opportunity here for you. Okay. Now, with that context, what I want to do is I will get into the part about AI within software engineering. Now, of course, many of you know, of course, I don't probably have to explain what is software engineering. We'll talk specifically about the context of a developer. Okay. So traditionally, of course, most of you who have developed code, whether you have used Python, whether you've used Java, whether you have used C programming or any of the programming languages, most of the cases you would have probably have wrote code by hand, or you would have searched Stack Overflow for some unfamiliar error. You would have looked at various boilerplates to do that, etc. But your value was largely about how much you could type the code, right? Yeah. Now the range we are shifting in is not about the code is not the first and foremost thing. The first and foremost thing is basically what we call as an intent. Okay, so intent is actually a business decision, or intent is actually a case. Now, what is that? What is a need for which you need to use AI, for instance? Okay, now the intent can be, okay, for instance, I need to develop a UI, okay, for a customer facing portal doing XYZ function. Now that is your intent. Okay, now you should be able to describe your intent in a in a clearly understandable natural language, English in this context. Of course, now I'll talk about a lot of language nuances coming to the AI also. You should be able to describe your intent in a natural language understanding format, which will be a prompt input to the AI model, which you provide by the prompt, and the AI drafts the code, right? And then you have checks in terms, you verify the code against the reality. Now the boilerplate in terms of what it is actually is coming up, right? So essentially your value is also in terms of what you choose to build and how well you verify it, right? Yeah. And what is the power that it gives you, right? So traditionally probably you would have taken probably 5-6 hours to actually type the code in a traditional parlance. But now with the prompt, and of course the time you spend in actually is to craft that intent and craft that prompt, right? So the bottleneck is as actually, in terms of the effort, that hasn't disappeared. It has actually moved. So from typing code to deciding what is worth building and checking whether it's correct, that is where the shift has happened in terms of the effort. Okay. The engineers who knew how to write the prompt, how to engineer the prompt, are the ones who are really will be very, very valuable in the market today, right? So the prompt engineering itself is a kind of a skill today, which is actually there are a lot of courses which actually equips the engineers to be very good at prompt engineering today. So prompt engineering is one of the very, very critical skills for engineers of the future. Yeah. So from writing from hand to searching Stack Overflow, or you set up boilerplates, basically set up and so on and so forth, the shift is really happening to more of how do you describe the intent, how do you engineer the prompt, how do you ask AI to draft the code, and how do you actually choose. I mean, you don't need to as an engineer, you don't need to pick up the code that the AI has generated. You can actually, you have the power in your hands to actually tweak it. You have the power in your hands to ask it to modify it, contextualize it, so on and so forth, right? So that is where the shift is actually happening in a big time in terms of developers of yesterday versus developers of today. Okay. Now there are a lot of tools, as I mentioned, that in terms of what is there in the industry today. Okay. And this is all just a growing number. Because Microsoft and GitHub had gotten earlier in the game, there's a lot of adoption of GitHub Copilot today in the industry. But having said that, most of the other tools in terms of the Cursors and the Claude, Codex, and Amazon Queues, and so on and so forth, a lot of things have absolutely come very, very much into the work today, right? And there are subtle differences, of course, between all of these models also. When you come to the job of a software engineer, you typically think it's a coding is job. It's not just really coding. We need to understand the full gamut of software engineering development lifecycle, or SDLC, as the industry calls it. It typically starts with a requirement. There is a requirement. There is a business requirement which is there, which needs to be understood. You need to design for the business requirement. You need to design. You need to create components design for it. You need to create end-to-end designs for it, so on and so forth. Then you need to be able to convert that into a language which can be understood for a programmer to actually develop that, right? Then comes your coding, and then comes the testing, and then of course multiple different activities before you actually roll it out into production, right? So the tools in context of this is not just to be looked at purely from the perspective of just completing your code, or generating the code for you, or curating the code, etc. That's only just one part of it. But you need to understand it in context of how it helps you in the complete engineering lifecycle as such, right? And many of these tools, for instance, GitHub Copilot helps you in the complete full segment of the lifecycle of software engineering and development. Claude Code, basically, and Claude's Opus 4.5 upward models are extremely high on the reasoning power. They have a higher context window, which means that they can understand complex jobs better. They are becoming a very, very specifically in industry, very complex, highly regulated industries. Case in example, banking or telecom, so on and so forth. There are a lot of complex scenarios where a Claude Code is proving to be more higher in accuracy for specifically complex jobs, including code creation, development of applications, so on and so forth. Okay. Codex and other things are, of course, the vibe coding platforms are there. Devin is another vibe coding platform. So basically it's an accompaniment to the core engineer. You as an engineer, then you have an assistant to yourself, right, in terms of how this is used. So all of this is basically what is there in the industry today, and what is kind of being rapidly adopted across the industry today. So I will pause here to see if there is a if we can have a show of hands. How many of you have used either of these tools in as part of your projects, or otherwise what you have experimented, etc.? Can we have a show of hands of any of you have used any of these tools? Okay, so I see a lot of hands going up, which is very good to see. What you have used. Absolutely great, good to see that. Okay,
Going up, 30 plus. Yeah, 40 plus is going.
very good. Okay, good. So I'll move on. So does the engineering stop with just developing the code, testing it, making sure it is completely safe and trustworthy, and deploying it into production and having it run? No, it doesn't stop there, right? Because code is actually a living construct. The next time a business requirement is changing, you have a new business requirement, you will typically have to kind of add capabilities, add more code to the existing code. You will probably have to re-engineer the code. You may have to add some functions to it. You may have to expand your database capability. You may add more attributes to it. You may have to add more logic to it, etc. So code is actually a living construct in any enterprise fabric, right? Which means that also the aspects with respect to code maintenance, maintaining the code is absolutely critical. Okay, in the engineering parlance, we call the application maintenance or infrastructure maintenance, if it touches infrastructure, to be a very very big facet here, right? So even in context of maintenance, right, the software engineering bench mark shows that AI is actually also helping to fix lot of genuine issues in the code, right? Typically the issues in terms of you typically will run when you compile a code, or when you actually try to test it, you'll end up with very different issues, right? So the AI is also helping, the AI assistant is also helping to fix lot of issues today. This again is GitHub statistics, but in terms of the ingenuity of help using the AI to fix lot of the issues which is there in the software space, it's actually growing, right? And the benchmarks also is actually going up in terms of the adoption with respect to also solving tickets, the whole maintenance and the engineering side of it. The usage of AI even in context of maintainability of the existing code, making incremental improvements to it, optimization of the existing application code, etc. So it is actually proving to be more assistive in those relevance as well here, right? So which means that see, while very well specified work is becoming increasingly automatable, where is the scarcity? Okay, so a lot of things like ticket resolution, fixing known problems, these all can be clearly been automated through AI in usage. But where is the gap today? When you have a gap is there in terms of defining the problem, a gap is there today in judging the solution, and gap is there today in owning the outcome. So these are all the skill set which no AI can replace today. This is where the human ingenuity comes become important here, right? In terms of how do you define the problem, how do you judge the solution, how do you judge the outcome of the AI, and how do you own the outcome of that, right? Which is why we call always all this human in the loop, which comes into the construct here, right? And this is where the shift of developers or engineers will, so engineers who typically do the routine work in the routine manner is actually the ones who will be lot more vulnerable. Whereas if you are equipped to use AI for to creating this difference for yourself in terms of better definition of problem, better judging the solution, and keeping you for owning the outcome, that will clearly differentiate you in terms as a programmer, as a developer, as a senior developer going into the future today, right? And that is where the shift is actually happening as we speak. Okay, so there is lot of roles in demand today. AI ML engineer, model specialist. While of course we are seeing in the industry that many of the enterprises, whether it's large banks, whether large telecom companies or retailers, etc., most of them are going towards a multi-model aspect. People are realizing that one model is not sufficient for me to one model is not equipped for me to handle all the kind of tasks that I needed. Or for that matter, see, a cloud Opus 4.8, a high reasoning model, but at the same time, high costly model. I do not need a very high-end model for all of my tasks. For my routine tasks, probably I am good with, say, for instance, a Llama model here or a Mistral here, etc. For my high-end reasoning task, I'll probably use a Anthropic Claude 4.8 elsewhere, right? So, which means that it is also a multi-model ecosystem there, which means that there are a lot of model specialists also that companies require. And it can be a larger skill set of being an AI ML engineer, but also carrying specific skill sets for specific kind of models, which also very big demand in the industry today. ML ops. So when you have all these models today, how do you manage the whole operation speed of the models? Like, there are a lot of behind the scenes which goes into model maintenance as well, right? Because typically when models are adopted into the companies, into the enterprise landscape, you have to do a lot of model training. You have to do a lot of grounding. You have to build a harness for model. You have to build a security guardrails surrounding the model. There are a lot of other pieces you have to know how to track the observability of the model performance. You have to track it for its performance, latency, its throughput, accuracy, so many other aspects. So a lot of non-functional aspects also go into maintaining this model. So it's very important that you understand those concepts also in terms of what goes behind the scenes of ML ops. And there is a lot of demand for ML ops and AI infrastructure engineers also, because AI infrastructure, I'll give a brief of this. Now there are various types of infrastructures on which models can be run. Of course, one is the cloud platforms. You have the hyperscalers, the AWSs, the Microsoft, or the Googles, on which models can run. They provide the container, they provide the infrastructure to run the models can also be run on-premise infrastructure within the data center, which means that you need to have certain capabilities of GPU kind of infrastructure to run specific high-end models, which requires that kind of a accelerated computing infrastructure, which means that you need to have engineering skills to design those kind of infrastructure which is required to run these models. So the AI infrastructure engineer is also a very, very growing skill demand in the industry today, right? And then RAG, of course, we briefly touched on this. How do you apply AI? Applying AI in context of the domain, the applied AI product engineer. That's a very, very big, ask in the industry today. Designing the RAG pipelines, basically, in terms of how do you actually retrieve, what kind of scenarios, use cases, how do you design your retrieval augmented generation pipelines, which is all tuned towards certain industries, certain kind of use case scenarios, etc. That's again a growing role in the industry. Data engineers, data scientists, always in vogue, always in very, very high demand. Cloud DevOps and platform engineer, absolutely critical, because models are going to coexist with your traditional application. It's going to coexist with your the existing set of technology which is there. So we need to design around how you to infuse AI into the existing platforms. So AI is not, so there's not going to be a separate platform of AI, but AI is coming centrally into all the things which is there in an enterprise construct. So it's important that how do you integrate AI into all of this, right? Whether it is into your DevOps pipeline, into the existing platforms, into the cloud infrastructure, all of this becomes critical, right? Cyber security, because while AI is of course bringing in all these good facets there, at the same time there is a lot of threat vectors also need to understand. So we need to design, when you apply AI to an enterprise context, there are a lot of guardrails and security that needs to be engineered around the AI, right? Even agentic AI, for that matter, if you let an AI run a certain decision or task on its own, there are a lot of harness and there are a lot of guardrails that need to be established surrounding that. So cybersecurity, particularly the context of AI agents, is a very, very, very growing demand, very growing skill, etc. And of course, people who know how to bring AI into the construct of the entire business transformation, the product management value stream, absolutely becoming very, very critical. So there is a lot of rising roles the roles that are in big demand today, and this is only going to increase as we speak, going into late 2026 and beyond, right? What kind of roles are under pressure? Obviously there's a lot of people are rehashing themselves and training themselves, equipping themselves to work in the AI era. But traditional jobs, in terms of pure play manual testing, or just doing only a hands-on CRUD coding, routine data entry, or a report generation, etc., those kind of roles definitely are under pressure. Because, and it's not saying that they will become redundant, but the people who are able to equip themselves and people who are able to upskill themselves in context of then becomes, of course, will become valuable for the enterprise there. So there is a lot of resorting, as I would say, in the industry today in terms of roles, and there are, of course, new roles that is also evolving as we speak in this context. Okay. And a little bit closer to home, specifically on the Indian side, the Indian IT industry today. Of course, I'm from TCS, so definitely from the IT industry sector. All companies are having big demand with respect to engineers who carry the skills of AI, knowing to use AI. So the bar is extremely high. Of course, the top IT firms are expected to onboard high number of graduates this year as well as going into the next year. But the bar is, of course, set higher, right? And a lot of skills specifically around people who know AI, people who are embedding AI, who are able to demonstrate AI even in during your projects and programs and semester curriculums, etc. You will have a higher weightage in terms of your chances to be selected and so on and so forth. Okay. And India also, as you know, there are a lot of GCCs, global capability centers. A lot of the enterprise customers across the globe are setting up their own global capability centers here. A lot of engineering, kind of workforce they require, right? In terms of, and most of these enterprises are also reinventing themselves in the AI age, right? Whether it is the banks, whether it is the retail companies, whether it is the utilities, so on and so forth. Everybody is actually the businesses themselves are shifting because of AI, which means that a lot of the capabilities that the engineering teams need to build, or the business operations need to embed, are going to be very, very heavy AI centric. So a lot of roles actually also coming in the context here in terms of the in the whole GCC pool as well here, right? And of course, as you all know, a lot of skills, there is a lot of premium that AI skills will pay as opposed to kind of traditional roles which is there. But while you equip your skills on AI, particularly in context of software engineering programming, it's also good to have broad brush knowledge, specifically in context of cloud, data, and security, because you cannot distinguish pure play only AI as opposed to keeping it away without understanding the cloud, which is the infrastructure on which it is going to run and so on, or the data which is required for the AI models to function, or for that matter, security, right? While you can have specialization within each of these things, that is a separate role. But even as a programmer who are actually an AI programmer, it is important that you have a broad brush skill set in terms of knowledge of, um, a combination of AI, cloud, data, as well as security, right? And while, of course, if you choose to specialize in one or the other domains, that career path is, of course, will be available to you post your specialization, etc. But it's even at this stage, it's important to have a broad brush understanding of all of this, because these are not in isolation. These technologies have to work together to make businesses transform. So it's important to understand this in together as well. Okay. Yeah, so I will rehash some of these things I spoke about, but what are the skills that you as students need to equip yourself, right? Well, of course, learning the tool, learning about the AI, knowing what AI models, how to use those models, etc., those kind of things definitely is there. But more importantly, what are the skills that you need to build today, right? So that you are actually making a difference for yourself, right? First and foremost, problem framing, I spoke about this. It's not about using AI, but you need to be able to have the capability to specifically define the problem in a proper natural language construct, right? AI can help you to code it, AI can help you to generate the code, but it cannot decide what is worth solving. So AI does not have the capability to decide what's worth solving. That is your problem, that is your skill, right? And that becomes a lot of attention need to be done. That is where, of course, prompt engineering skill set, training on how to problem solving, all those becomes an important facets that you should equip yourself with. Secondly, verification, right? In terms of being able to read the output critically, catching what has subtly gone wrong in what is the AI generated thing. So the testing capability, because the evals in the agent context, we call it evals. The evals phase is becoming very, very critical for every company in terms of setting up. So a lot of effort goes into the evals phase. So you should have capability to be able to verify and judge in terms of where exactly the AI generated output or AI augmented output has come in, and be able to catch where things have gone wrong, be able to rectify it, and so on and so forth, right? And then of course the fundamentals. But having said this, are we saying that you should not learn fundamentals of programming? Absolutely not. You should still have fundamentals of programming. You should know about what does mean for data structures. You should know system engineering. You should know what networks is, how the databases work, some of the aspects which in the object oriented programming, specifically languages like Java and so on, that you learn what goes behind the scenes of object oriented programming, etc. So the fundamentals of programming, please do not skip it. That will absolutely be critical for you, because a lot of the facts about in terms of how to design the problems to build, or the verification, all of them require those fundamental capabilities to do that. So it's not just about prompt engineering alone, but some of the fundamental constructs of designing systems is absolutely critical, and that has to be very, very foundational in terms of what you learn and you're equipped with today, right? And of course, a lot of fluency around understanding how to build a RAG pipeline, how to build evals, how to have cost awareness, because one of the critical aspects today, see, while there is a lot of adoption of AI happening, a lot of enterprise, a lot of CXOs that I interact with across the globe have a lot of critical concerns about the cost of AI also, right? So we need to be able to use a technology with the right in an optimum way, that it doesn't overshoot the cost, right? If you are actually bringing in AI to improve my efficiency, improve my productivity, improve my value levers, other value levers, it should not end up costing me more than what that the entire system is going to cost me today, right? So it has to be really cost optimal. So awareness of the costing. I gave an example of some of the type of problem statement, some of the time of task, you don't require very high end frontier models for that such kind of task. It's absolutely plausible for you to use more open source models in that construct for certain kind of task, right? Knowing when to use what model, knowing when to infuse AI in that particular workflow, is absolutely critical. So it's also need to have cost awareness. So engineers of tomorrow also need to be cost aware in terms of how to use, what to use, where. Okay, that also is an important critical skill going into the thing. And of course, I did speak about deployment, a clear understanding of where are we going to deploy the AI model, the cloud infrastructure, those kind of things, absolutely critical, right? And communication, of course, well, AI does a lot of the raw output, etc. You should be able to explain what are the trade-offs, basically, so the value, the outcome, what I mentioned briefly about the outcome, the be able to explain the trade-offs to humans in terms of where exactly, how is the value center that you've brought out using AI, in what context, that makes the human engineers in this case more valuable, right? That absolutely is of course one of the very critical skills also, specifically as you evolve into roles such as the AI product manager and so on and so forth. So those kind of skills, that will be very, very critical here, right? I will take a few minutes to explain the software lifecycle level by level. Some of you probably would have learned it in your system engineering, or some of the semester subjects that you have done. Okay, but I will try to lighten it a little bit, because in terms of kind of a gamified view of what it is, and understand what is the patterns and so on and so forth. Yeah, and so typically you need to understand what is the requirements, right? Which means that you take, somebody has a fuzzy wish, but how do you take it and modify it into a clear specification? That specification is required for you to develop anything, or develop an application, develop a software, so on and so forth, right? Then comes what we call as designing, which is obviously drawing the map, and this is where designers, architects come into the role there in terms of architecting. How does those different, you can have about 15 or 16 different requirements, right? But all the requirements put together is how the entire system or a solution will evolve. Now, how do these pieces fit together? So you have to have a design around this, right? And why I'm mentioning all of this thing, each of these layers, each of these levels of the software lifecycle, there is a usage of AI. And AI can help a designer or an architect, similar to how an AI is helping a developer to generate code, or complete a code. Designers and architects also have the power of AI in their hands to help them to fit these pieces together. Okay, and then of course going to the actual development with the build mode, which can be which in a lot of scenarios can be will be brownfield development, because in the industry about 80 to 90% of the work is brownfield development, which means that you are going to build on top of some systems which is already there or modify that and so on. And there, of course, a lot of greenfield development also in terms of new applications, new systems, apps that are getting new mobile apps that is getting developed and so on and so forth. So that is the next level of it. The last line, of course, is that the testing, which of course we're calling it the bug hunt, and that is where the evals becomes very, very critical in terms of AI. And AI also helps in a lot of testing, because it's not just about human testing thing, because there's a lot of AI driven automation of the whole quality engineering. That's a very, very big paradigm in the engineering space. AI can be used to test itself also, right? And I don't know how many of you heard, there is a concept called as LLM as a judge. So if you have one LLM, say for instance the Gemini model that I'm using to generate something or give me an output, I can use another LLM. So I can probably use a Claude LLM as a judge for that LLM. So I can use LLM as a judge itself to verify or test the veracity of one model vis-a the other as well, right? So there is a lot of application of AI in the testing space also, right? And then goes into, of course, the deployment and then maintenance. I did speak about a lot of application of AI even in the maintenance space to improve the whole process of troubleshooting, active fixes. How do you catch bugs or errors before actually it surfaces to a maintenance person? Here a lot of these things becomes critical, and all of this put together, typically we call it the agile loop. But of course the agile construct is also going for a lot of change as we speak in the industry, because a lot of MVP driven work, of course, and AI is of course accelerating the whole life cycle of the entire software engineering value chain also in this context. Okay, so I will again summarize with this, and then I will be open up for a lot of questions that you have. Every fundamentals that all of you will need to build this clear understanding of data structures, how databases need to be designed, the vocabulary of problem solving, all of this is critical. Knowing how the solution will scale. So for instance, even if you're building for XYZ application, in terms, the biggest problem of AI today, which is something that my job also involves today in terms of helping to scale, because a lot of the pilots and the POCs and etc., which is actually done, which will actually produce output, but when you scale it into production, we are talking about thousands of users, we are talking about volumes of data, etc. The same AI solution has to scale. It has to work in the test of the kind of scalability. So when you are actually developing or designing for a solution, it's important to understand how the scale of the solution will be happen when you actually go into productionization. That is where the big complexity comes in. So engineers were able to understand or design for that particular scalability, right? It's absolutely very that will be the difference that you can look at. And of course as we mentioned in terms of a capability for prompt engineering, uh, clean code development, debugging for instance, and of course version control. Of course all of the traditional things about how do you manage your version controls, your mindset of testing, the various facets of testing, etc., etc. And of course your fundamental understanding of memory management. So in your computing systems, of course you have learned about the operating system, databases, networks, memory management, etc. One of the biggest killer complexities of AI is also in the whole memory architecture of the AI. So all of these aspects also becomes very, very critical in usage of AI also. So it's absolutely important to understand how the AI model work behind the scenes also, how the tokens actually gets consumed, so on and so forth, right? And from a language perspective, while most of you may be learning Java, Python, etc. kind of thing, it's good to master your fundamentals in one of the languages. You may develop cross capabilities in one or two SQL languages and etc. thing addition to that. But of course, as of we speak today, of course, from open source programming construct, Java and Python are still ruling in terms of, as well as distributed in the in application infrastructures are concerned. But at the same time, it's important that you master one of the languages, because you understand the construct of one language, and of course you can diversify to understand more of languages in, for instance, in the database programming side, or for that matter if it's embedded systems that you're specialized on, and so on and so forth, right? But one language understanding, deep understanding of one language is very, very critical for you to shape your skills, moving into the future, right? Okay. So all in all, AI is of course very powerful. Knowing it is absolutely critical to way how you develop yourself as a programmer for the future. But at the same time, you need to know how to use it as well, right? Because if you use it in the wrong way, there are a lot of kind of lawsuits. There are a lot of disputes today in the industry in terms of IP, intellectual property violations, intellectual property, kind of indemnification, so on and so forth. So also important, and there are cases where AI has gone rogue as well in terms of what they were supposed to do. So that's why the ability to construct around the risk of it, the security, the guardrails, contextualizing the AI, within the construct of the particular enterprise, etc. Training the AI on the particular data, which is basically grounded for the particular customer scenario. All of this is very, very critical in this context. So it's important to understand the risk surrounding that, as well. Thing. Okay. So I will quickly, do a quick, kind of a pop-up quiz. You can just raise off, probably hands and stuff like that. So for instance, what AI cannot do very properly. Now, of course, I know it's difficult to do a quiz in this context if multiple hands are right. But can you build a working web application if you give a very plain English text? How many of you think complete working web application can be generated by AI? Just show of hands. Okay, good.
You can open up the chat box also, Lavna. Probably they can say yes or a no here.
Yeah.
Chat box.
Okay, this I want to see if any hands goes up for this.
I have opened the chat box now. Participants can respond.
Okay. How many of you think you can use AI to learn your complete semester, so you don't have to do the learning? Is the hands for the previous question or for this question?
And responses in chat box is also, ma'am. A lot of yes is coming.
Okay.
You can probably put question 3 and then answer for the next question whenever it is being asked. Put a Q3 hyphen and put your answer.
Okay, if you can read it, you can do that. Okay, somebody's saying it can't build production level application, but it can build simple apps. Okay.
Yes.
Students don't need teachers anymore, somebody's saying. Okay. Good to see interesting perspectives. Okay. Q3, somebody's saying yes. Okay. So Q3, let me tell you, okay. See, this is where the grounding is important. Okay. So if you think, for instance, if you try to ask a question which the model is actually not trained on, okay, you'll be surprised to know. Say you work with some of those frontier models, when it actually does not know it, some models, certain models will not hallucinate. They are programmed. They will objectively tell you that is not something that I am trained on. Say for instance, um, there are very, very, very classified files, for instance, a very classified information, and so on and so forth. Say for instance, it may need to do with some kind of a defense information or some country specific very classified information. A reliable AI model, you ask some information surrounding that, typically it will come back because it is grounded. It's not allowed to hallucinate. It will often come back and say, no, I am not trained on this, or I am not equipped to review this information. It will tell you. But there can be models which are not grounded enough. The models which were not, which will actually try to invent an answer, though it is actually not trained on that particular data set, which may give you an answer that is called hallucination. It may actually tell you something which it actually does not know. So that kind of risk is there in certain kind of models. But a lot of the frontier models today clearly are programmed to also say no when they are actually asked certain question which is not really trained on today. So that context is also there today in that. Yeah. And of course, so lot got to say that it, of course, it cannot be a semester learning that you don't have to, as I mentioned. all that foundations and the fundamentals of understanding computing systems and the constructs are very, very critical. And in addition, of course, need to learn, and of course you can use AI for the purpose of learning also as an additive to that, but that does not take away from your core semester's learning and the foundations that you need to have. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. And I did speak about some of this trivia in terms of this. So yeah, I said I did speak about what hallucination is when AI confidently makes up something as what's called hallucination. And it is possible to refresh. Okay, now say for instance, I use multiple AI models for my personal case as well as of course my work environment. Over a period of time, I've realized that when I have a conversation with an AI and that actually curates specific to me, right? It understands Sujata completely as a person. It understands what are my context of the interaction with it. It curates answers specific to me. So that is something that I've realized with specific kind of models that I work on, because over a period of time, it actually, the conversation does not have to start with a blank, right? It actually it gets curated towards me. At the same time, you can also have ability to kind of erase memory because you want to kind of delete the complete context of it. You want a model to kind of refresh and start conversation with right from a blank. All that is also possible, right? But when you are using in context of an enterprise, etc., a lot of things also goes into something called as a cache. So the cache memory also retains a lot of thing in terms of your contextual memory, depending upon how your interactions with AI goes, today in that context. So those facets also important to understand in that context, right? And of course, use AI wisely, because need to be aware of when you're learning to use AI. Please be aware of hallucinations. While it is trained on a lot of data, there are a lot of biases that AI can pick up in terms of giving outputs that can be skewed. So as an engineer, how do you detect biases? So I talked about testing, so various facets in addition to the functional aspect, etc. More than that, how do you detect bias? How do you engineer that the bias does not get programmed into the system thing? How do you ensure that data privacy breaches are not happening, right? How do you ensure that PII, the personal information, is actually not given to the hands of the AI? It does not actually manipulate that. These kind of things become very critical to you before you actually go AI, full spectrum in terms of using that. Security, I did speak about. Security is a vast topic by itself. Probably somewhere down the line, you can have a session particularly on cyber security in context of AI. There are a lot of aspects that needs to be considered in context of that. And of course, you use AI only to extend your ability. Don't use AI to replace your core ability, because that is a killer. You will not do that. So use AI wisely to extend your core ability as a human engineer, and that is where the skills atrophy is actually today. And of course, IP and plagiarism. See, there are quite a few AI companies who actually indemnify or protect you against any IP or a plagiarism, but there are a lot of models who are, especially open source models, who do not clearly indemnify today. So you need to be also aware that in terms of even code that is generated. So even code is a IP right? For instance, so if you're using AI to generate a code for a particular application for a particular industry, etc., what if a similar code exists with XYZ competitor, kind of maybe not a similar fashion, but there is always a room for context in terms of IP and plagiarism, etc. It's also important to understand where to use, etc. Especially particularly for your academic clients, absolutely please do not use AI in context of your own what you produce in terms of your reports and stuff like that. But that is something that even going forward in context of what you do in your workplace, also very clear to have a view of where does the IP protection comes in, how do you use AI, how do you use put caveats to basically guard against all of this is so of course going to be very important to do that. So all this is very critical to do that. Yeah. Okay. So last but not least, use AI daily, not only as a tool or assist for your own project, but all of you should pick up some real projects. If you are doing internships, probably that's a good opportunity, but pick up real coding assistant, work on real projects, try to take it to the full stream in terms of even deploying into some sort of an infrastructure. You benchmark it, you learn, go through all the facets of the typical software engineering life cycle. document what has been the learning from each facets of it, try to improve that, and so on and so forth, and try to ship one deployed monitored project as part of your semester's work, where you have live RAG, for instance. You can have multiple AI features, probably put it on GitHub Copilot, compare and benchmark with some of the other similar things on GitHub Copilot. Look at various aspects of performance, accuracy, memory management, observability, so many other facets of AI, not just about the building that front end screen, etc., deploying, but also look at it from the hard evidence of the non-functional attributes also in terms of the AI. And of course, as I mentioned, keep all your fundamentals very sharp. Systems engineering, database engineering, understanding of one or more languages very deeply. All that is very critical for your job as a programmer or a developer also going forward. Also, learn how do you evaluate. Not just generate, and of course, build on all your communication skills also, which is also very critical, right? Okay. So I will leave with this. So AI is not out to take anybody's job, but an engineer who uses AI properly, correctly, will definitely be the one which will be a competitor to you. Okay, yeah. So I will stop here, and Lavana, I can take any questions from the students if there are.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a thought-provoking session. That stats on AI step code really set the tone for us, and a clear reminder that this shift isn't something ahead of us; it's also already here. And we will carry forward that powerful line you left us with. AI won't take your job, an engineer using AI will. It has truly been a privilege having you with us today, ma'am. So before moving into the Q&A segment, Sujata ma'am, can we have a interactive quiz now? Sujata,
Yeah,
can I go ahead?
sure, we can do
Yeah, post that we will take a Q&A. So now to run the slider quiz, I request Mr. Kishore to take over the.
Thank you, madam. Participants, we have pasted a Slido quiz link in the chat box, both in YouTube and in the Zoom chat box. Please log in using your registered email ID.
You can share your screen, Kishore.
Just a minute.
By the time I'm requesting all the participants to register and log into the Slido quiz. And
I hope my screen is visible.
It's coming up. Yes, visible, Kishore.
Okay. Slido quiz is a time-based quiz. A total we have a 20 seconds to answer a question. There will be total 10 questions. After each 5 questions, there will be a leaderboard. It will be evaluated based on the answers you answer, correct answers, and the timing, how fast you will answer the question. At the end of the question, we'll have a end leaderboard. Okay. We'll wait for a few more minutes. Request participants to join the Slido quiz quickly. We'll wait for 2 more minutes. Participants who are watching in YouTube also can join the Slido quiz. For the certificate, Slido quiz will be also be evaluated. So please participate in the quiz. Wait for 1 more minute. 3-5 will start the quiz. We'll wait for 1 more minute because there's 1,000+ watching in the YouTube and 1,000 in Zoom. Okay, we'll start the quiz. Each question will have 20 seconds of the time. So total 10 questions. We'll go for the first question. Which skill is becoming more valuable as AI generates more codes? We have 4 options. Okay, most of you answered C. Let's go for the correct answer. Okay, C is the right answer. Hope you understand the pattern. We'll go for the second question. A developer uses an AI coding assistant to generate a function. What should be the developer's next step? Okay, most of you answered B. Okay, B is the right answer. We'll move on to the third question. Okay, 81% of the answer B. Okay, B is the right answer. For fourth question. 2,000+ participants are participating in the live quiz. Okay, C is the right answer. Fifth question. After this question, we'll have a leaderboard. Okay, D is the right answer. We'll have the leaderboard. Okay. Jainithan MR, I don't know from which college, has answered 5 questions in 36 seconds. Divya M answered 5 questions in 38 seconds. Saravanan answered 40 seconds in 5 questions. Okay. We'll go for the sixth question. A, C is the right answer. Seventh question. Okay. B is the right answer. 8th question. Okay, 92% answered C. Okay, the final question. Okay. Let's see the correct answer. Hallucination. Okay, the final question. This was the 10th question. Okay, C is the right answer. The final leaderboard. I request the participants to come to the Zoom screen. We'll have the final leaderboard. Okay. Jainath has remained in the first place. Sarvan, third place, have come to the second place. Divya remains in the third place. Congratulations to the participants. Thank you for attending the quiz.
Thank you, Kishore, for running the interactive quiz. And really happy to note that around 2,000 plus
Yes,
participants actively
2000 plus.
participated. And congratulations to the participants who got the first 5 places. Congratulations. And over to the Q&A segment. Sujata ma'am, there is a question by Rahavendran at the beginning of the session itself. Can I read for you, ma'am?
Sure, please.
If the exact same prompt and the exact same input data are given to ChatGPT, why does it sometimes generate different outputs on different devices or for different users? What factors are responsible for this difference?
Very good question. Very good question. Okay, so in simple parlance, what it is missing is the context. Okay, the context engineering is one of the biggest facets of AI programming, because when you're using it as a, even for your personal perspective, right? The context in which you are kind of conversing with the AI, which needs to be remembered into the memory architecture of the AI, it needs to be in the cache and so on. It needs to be programmed into that. That becomes the biggest important facet for ensuring the continuity of your your conversation, ensuring the continuity of your what you're using the AI for, etc. So basically, that is why you get different results when you're actually completely logging in from different kind of tool sets and etc. So this is okay when you're using it for your personal use, etc. You can live with some of the the type of difference outputs, etc. But when it comes to the actual enterprise scenario, when you're talking about deploying such kind of things in the for systems which is in the industry, you cannot work on that kind of differential kind of outputs. An AI model needs to continuously give you the same kind of prediction, same kind of accuracy of the outcome, in consistently. The consistency is very, very critical. So which means that we need to do a lot of context engineering, right? So context engineering involves multiple facets. Say that one of the important aspect is the RAG, the retrieval augmented generation, which means how do we pull the requisite information knowledge base, whether it's documents, databases, APIs, into the environment which the model is working. That gives it the grounding, that gives it the context on which to work on, right? Secondly, aspects such as short-term memory and long-term memory are there in models. Systems that that can track your conversational history, your prior decisions, etc. Those will become crucial for you to ensure continuity of the model's output. So which need to design for the type of memory architecture also behind the AI. Second, third, of course, system prompts and instructions, the guardrails that define the model's behavior. There are a lot of rules and guidance and personas based, which you can, the details of prompt engineering needs to be learned in terms of designing such guardrails around how do you structure those prompts. And also output also, how do you defined for structured outputs and so on and so forth also becomes core components. So the context engineering is a very, very crucial piece, and that is the biggest reason why you see differential kind of outputs in that context. And one of the critical aspects is to build capable agents that can give you similar kind of output, similar kind of performance, similar kind of outcomes. You need to really engineer for the context. And there are a lot of models who have a higher context window as opposed to certain models who have a smaller context window. But even withstanding that, the design around context engineering is absolutely critical, especially in the context of when you're applying it for a business critical problem and so on and so forth. Yeah. So the answer is context engineering. So that is the difference there. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. We will allow the participants to unmute and directly ask the question also. But before doing that, there is a question from Vishal. If AI creates new opportunities, what skills should engineering students develop now to be ready for those roles?
Yeah. Probably I don't know whether you paid attention when I was talking about the role shifts and so on and so forth. I did describe about 6 or 7 categories of different type of roles which is in vogue today, which is in high demand today. Of course, skills that involve the essence of how do we engineer prompts, RAG pipeline design and around AI, core AI, ML model engineers. Then people who want to specialize specifically in the data science field, right? In terms of understanding the models, building algorithms for the models, etc. That's again a big role shift or a role need in the industry today. ML ops, model operations. How do you manage model operations? AI infrastructure engineers, engineers who know how to design the infrastructures on which the model has to run, right? To give it the kind of thing. Cyber security experts for AI, agentic security engineers, for instance. So there are about 7 or 8 different facets of the type of role demands today to equip yourself to be relevant and to be you have a lot of demand, particularly in this context of using AI. And those are all the biggest high demand roles which are there today in the industry today. So you can choose either or career path, or you can choose to be skill yourself in 1 or 2 domains together as well. But these are all the specific kind of role demands which is there in the industry today.
Yeah. Now I'm allowing, thank you, ma'am. Now I'm allowing Yashwant from SMB. Can you go ahead? You can ask the question.
First of all, thank you for this.
Your voice is breaking, not clear.
What project should
Yashwant, sorry, you're not audible. Your voice is not coming well. You're not audible as such. Very muffled. Yashwant, you can post that in the chat box. Unfortunately, we could not hear anything.
There's a question come in the mailbox. It's a big, such a big question. I have pasted in the chat box.
Yeah. We will go one by one. Just post it. Okay. Narayana Engineering College, do you want to go ahead? Yes, go ahead, sir. Narayana Engineering College. I could not hear anything. Anyway, in the meantime, probably I'll read out the next question, ma'am. Lot of thank you messages for your session, Sujata, ma'am. Let me read out the question. Do you think that the basic structure of general college academics need to be changed to new terms, or is traditional is acceptable? From Velalar College.
Okay. I don't know about your college academic structure to comment about it. But if you ask me from an industry lens, because I'm in the industry and working on day-to-day basis on live and real projects, I definitely feel the academic structures specifically need to be adapted in context of what has come through in the technology domain today. And it is not just while today we spoke about software engineering, but AI is impacting all different domains. You take aspects with respect to say for instance mechanical engineering, a lot of physical AI is there. Physical AI is becoming a very, very big work today in the industry today. A lot of things which the memory that a lot of machine infrastructure is carrying today. So a lot of physical AI, specifically about sensor systems, IoT domain, etc. things. So AI is transcending every discipline of engineering, in my view, right? And the application of AI is also there in every discipline of engineering today. So definitely, yes, the core curriculum of academics need to be more industry attuned. It needs to be tailored towards what is the relevancy with respect to application of AI, the essence of engineering of AI, which needs to be understood and applied, so on and so forth. That definitely has to be done. So I'm all for that. And there are various academic institutions that I know for the fact that TCS as a company, we are invested well in terms of co-curating the academic structure for various colleges today, so that you are all industry ready. And when you pass out and when you join the when you come to the job market, you are also already equipped and you're already industry ready, right? So the level of training that needs to be given to you to make you job ready is actually lesser, right? You already become industry ready in that context. So there are a lot of institutes that are the industries who are already doing that, including TCS. But a core question, yes, definitely, we need to be really in vogue of what is happening in the industry today, and the technology shift is very, very rapid. So even the AI, which I spoke about probably a year back, is completely irrelevant today, right? So today there is a new model in the market, so it needs to be really keeping up to terms with the development of technology. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. And moving to the next question, again, Balaraman from RIT is asking, what are the limitations of large language models like ChatGPT in terms of accuracy and bias?
Very good question. Again, goes back to that whole grounding thing that I gave you in context of that. So one thing, which is again a very deeper context of AI, which was a little outside of today's subject, but I want to talk a little bit about domain models. Okay. See, now all this ChatGPT, OpenAI, take Llama, etc., they are trained on very large data sets. They are trained on the internet data sets. They are trained on corpuses of which has been kind of procured from different companies, open internet, and so on and so forth, right? So they are not geared towards performing specific tasks. Say, for instance, suppose I am a medical or a pharma company. I am doing a drug research. Okay. Now I am doing a drug research for cancer, which is a very, very highly specialized domain, right? I cannot expect to use a chat GPT or this model or etc. kind of thing to do that. It's a very, very, very nuanced, very industry, very, very domain contextual. So in context of such cases where there is a very industry nuanced domain, etc., there are a lot of models which are actually be developed, which are already there in the industry today, which were very domain models. We call it domain models. One case in example, NVIDIA has got this model called BioNeMo. BioNeMo specifically is for models which specifically for discovery, drug discovery, and specific applications in the biology, in the biochemical sector, right? For instance, or biotech sector. So for this class of cases, for instance, the drug discovery, doing pattern analysis, genomics, for instance, very specialized domains, you require lot of domain models to be curators. There is a class of lot of domain models in the industry also, which means there are models which are trained on specific data sets, which is very industry specific, which is very curated, which is very pointed, etc., right? So you cannot apply all large language models to type all different kind of problem statements. It's absolutely not critical. Okay. Now, beyond large language models, there is another class of models called SLMs, or small language models. You don't need a large language model for all kind of tasks. SLMs are small language models, but they're very curated for performing specific kind of task. And they have a higher degree of accuracy because you are actually training them on a smaller subset of data. You're training them on the enterprise knowledge and so on and so forth. SLMs, in fact, I can tell you from my experience of a very lot of solutions for customers. We have deployed SLMs, and they are proven to be much more accurate in terms of their output, contextual in the particular domain, and so on and so forth to do that. Yeah. So the answer is no, LLMs cannot be applied to all contexts. There are a lot of scenarios which requires very domain specific curated models. There are SLM classes that is needed and so on. So these are, of course, it's all broader aspects of how do you look at AI and applying AI in the domain. But it's a big lot to learn there when you expand beyond the core construct of LLMs. But the biggest impediment today is basically the contextualization and the training, and which is why a lot of enterprises go for things called training model or even fine tuning. Fine tuning requires a lot of infrastructure. Fine tuning means you're actually changing the weights of the model itself, right? In terms of being able to classify, apply on the specific context data, etc. things. So there are cases where we have also fine-tuned models. Take an open foundational model and then fine-tune the model for application in a specific kind of context or a domain. So aspects such as training, contextual learning, context engineering, domain fine-tuning, all of these are very critical to make the model work in those kind of scenarios we talked about. Yeah, and taking a pure play foundation LLM will not work in these scenarios. Yeah, so yes, so all of these other assets are there in terms of the different types of model, domain models, SLMs, and so on, which is actually required. So you need to decide. We need to have the capability to decide what kind of model should I use in what kind of context. Yeah.
A lot of questions coming up, Sujata ma'am. Anyway, we'll try attempt to one or two questions, ma'am, considering the time. One faculty from St. Peter, she is asking, ma'am, please could you suggest the most suitable course that our students can take to build a strong foundation in AI and develop AI applications?
Okay, there are a lot of training courses available today. Okay, and many of them, the AI companies themselves are giving a lot of training courses today. Free courses are available and so on. See, depending upon the type of projects that you're running, or depending upon the type of access. See, my suggestion is based on the type of tools that the student has got access to, because pure play, just doing a foundational course without applying and without trying hands-on is meaningless. Okay. So design your courses or select the type of courses which is attuned to which also gives the students the environment to apply that skills. Means they are actually able to use the models hands-on, use the models to their projects and stuff like that. So that's the right way to design those courses. But there are a lot of courses which is available via specific universities such as the Stanford and the Harvards, which is basically online courses are available. There are a lot of courses which the hyperscaler companies are providing. For instance, the Google, the AWS, and the Microsoft is providing a lot of foundational training courses are there. Model companies themselves are giving very curated training for their specific models. So, for instance, I know for the fact that Anthropic does one, OpenAI does provide a lot of courses. There are a lot of courses that all these intrinsic companies also are providing. But if you require a curated set of agnostic training courses, it's best to go with one of those online courses which is provided by those universities themselves, in terms of online training curriculum. But always match it to the type of tools that the students also will have access to, because then hands-on is absolutely as important as also learning the theory of it.
And there is one question which Merlin is repeatedly posting. Ma'am, how RAP is different from fine-tuning, and when would you use each?
Okay, very good question. So I'll start with fine tuning. See, fine tuning, I said, is not required for all context of application of AI, because when you have to apply, say that particular model, if the foundational model is absolutely not working in that context, right? For instance, if you're say I go back to the case in terms of I want to use a model for doing a drug discovery, for instance. The current so every model has got what is called as weights, right? Because weights is actually determined by the number of the training that it is actually provided on, right? Now all the foundation model comes with it a very classified set of weights that is already having, right? Now, if those internal weights are not fungible, they are not applicable for the particular task that I am going to apply the AI for, you need to fundamentally alter the weights of the AI, right? Which means that you need to do a training on lot of different specific examples, which is called fine tuning. Okay, and there are various types of fine tuning you can do. You can do PEFT fine tuning. You can do instruction driven fine tuning. A lot of different models are there to fine tune that. This is very useful for specialized tasks, for instance, right? So you want to specifically curate the output of the model to certain kind of classify this, where a deep domain internalization is required, where you have deep domain capabilities. Those are the scenarios where fine tuning is needed. And fine tuning requires a lot of infrastructure also. Okay, fine tuning requires a lot of, say, typically most of the fine tuning requires a lot of GPU infrastructure, because you are actually fundamentally altering the weight of the model itself, right? So this is the class for fine tuning. So fine tuning only for applications where the traditional foundational model absolutely does not work. even with RAG training, etc., it is used to fundamentally change the weight of the model. Those are the scenarios where fine tuning is needed. Okay. Now coming to RAG. RAG is the most common retrieval augmented generation that we use when you really want to only fetch relevant information from some PDF files, databases, documents, etc., so that you can add it to your prompt dynamically. When you have real dynamic data, so when you are working on an application where you need to get fetch the most frequently changing data, you need to get some real-time details about that, or you need to say, for instance, the model is retrieving you certain information, but it also needs to give you the citation, or it also needs to give you the source from which it has actually picked up the information. So for instance, you are asking a model about, say, today's say what is the stock price today of Reliance, or something like that, right? So it also needs to point you to the citation behind that. So these kind of scenarios where you have groundedness in terms of there is an extrinsic source, where you have to frequent fetches to the databases, documents, etc., so that you add to the prompt dynamically. So these kind of scenarios, the RAG is sufficient, because it is actually pointing to the enterprise's particular database, systems of records, etc., kind of thing, and you can ground that thing so that it prevents hallucinations, because data updates are happening frequently in those databases, those PDF files, etc. things. So it is actually remaining within the realm of the enterprise context, etc. So RAG is sufficient for fetching such kind of information. So you don't really need to alter the model significantly, etc., kind of thing. So most of such scenarios, like say for instance summarization, document summarization, doing a root cause analysis, etc. So these kind of things, the RAG kind of a model is absolutely enough. Only in scenarios where you're looking at a very deep domain specialization, where traditional RAG is not giving you the required output, you need to really alter the weight of the model, then you go for a fine tuning. Fine tuning is very expensive, so fine tuning is not advised unless you really require that kind of domain contextualization, because fine tuning requires a lot of infrastructure to do fine tuning. So those are the scenarios wherein you actually apply fine tuning.
So, and ma'am, I could find a lot of questions are from this segment where you largely covered during the session. So participants, we will share the recording and request you to go through the recording. If you still have further questions, please write to us. We will get it clarified from our speaker and pass on the questions and answers. So now, and I would like to really thank ma'am for all the questions you have answered very patiently and in detailed manner. So at this point in time, I would like to invite Ms. Sujata Sundaresan, COO of PALS, to deliver the closing remarks. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Lavna. My voice is audible?
Perfect.
Yeah. So thank you, Ms. Sujata Gopal, a wonderful, refreshing session today. The topic was the AI on future of future AI and the future of IT, opportunity for new engineers. So definitely a very brilliant session and extremely well delivered. There was a lot of clarity in what you delivered today. Initially, when Pati, one of our PALS champions, started the session, he started by saying, I was not sure whether you were around, but he started by saying that the illiterate of tomorrow probably will not be the person who may probably not be able to read or write. I think, everybody will eventually be able to read or write in the current generation. But he mentioned that the person who does not know how to effectively use AI tools will probably be the one who will be called an illiterate. So this reinforces the need for every, not only an engineering student, I think all of us here to become AI literate. I think reinforcing this, Ms. Sujata, you started the session by reminding us that AI is no longer the future, it is the present. So with unprecedented momentum and all the investments, revenues, all the adoptions that is happening and the demand, I think AIT is just not transforming the IT industry, but all the other domains, other segments also. In your session, we also learned that AI is just not being an assistive tool. Maybe it is an augmentative partner. It is also enabling engineers to focus on higher order engineering, understanding problems, designing solutions, validating the outcomes and all that. As much as we are all aware that AI is definitely reshaping the jobs, Speaker Sujata ma'am did emphasize that there are certain skills that will always remain relevant, and something like our strong fundamental problem framing, critical thinking, communication, and continuous learning, and other basic knowledge on coding skills and all that. I think all our analytical, logical thinking will definitely remain. So students are, to make note of all that. As much as we are all inclined towards learning, towards the, familiarizing with the AI tools, I think these fundamental things will also be very important. I particularly liked a very simple explanation on the software development cycle that you mentioned, ma'am. Decoding the mission, drawing the map, building the application, the bug hunt, shipping it, and then, continue in the endless mode. I think continuous learning and improvement, learning never stops. So on behalf of PALS, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to you, ma'am, for very valuable insights and inspiring our students to embrace the opportunities. The last slide did mention that AI will not replace jobs. So there was a message in the chat box saying, we don't need teachers now anymore. So whoever wrote it, please undo that learning. That is not the right way to do it. So with this, we come to an end of the first session. I think tomorrow we will be having another session which Lavna will touch upon. I would just like to mention, being in, PALS for almost 8 years now, and importance of giving the feedback. Kishore is putting the feedback link. What I would request all of you is, we don't require, we all know that this session was great, nice, awesome, lovely. I don't know, you use all kinds of adjectives. You go ahead and use it. But what you have to realistically do is to write the key takeaways. Think, reflect on whatever you have learned today, and put it in so much in words and sentences in your, in the feedback link. That will be the best way for you to learn and, retain whatever you have learned from the session today. So once again, thanks a lot, Ms. Sujata, for a wonderful, brilliant session today. Over to you, Lavna.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Sujata.
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for beautifully summarizing the key highlights of today's session in such a comprehensive manner. Thank you once again, everyone, for being a part of today's session and actively participated and responded throughout the session. Before you sign off, as mentioned by Sujata also, please do take a moment to share your feedback to the link provided. And I'm happy to mention that today's session witnessed an overwhelming response with around 7,000 plus participants joining us. And we also love to see you back for the next two sessions. Tomorrow's sessions kick off at 1:30 p.m. on how AI is reshaping telecommunication. With this, we would like to wrap up today's session. Thank you all. Thank you, ma'am, Sujata, Gopal, ma'am, for your presence. Thank you all the participants. Kishore, we can stop the recording and we can stop the live streaming. Thank you, Kishore, for the entire coordination. Thank you all. We'll wait for a few seconds for you to access the feedback link.